So I hope that people show up. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. What do you need to know to cover COP28? I am Dizan Billy from the Climate Tracker Caribbean team, and I'm really thrilled to be your host for today's insightful session. As the world gears up for COP28, we know that the climate conference really holds immense significance for our planet's future. We're here really to equip you with the essential knowledge and tools to cover this pivotal event comprehensively. So, today we'll be starting by exploring some of the information that you need to know to cover COP, and we'll hear straight from three very experienced COP people, in the COP space. It's like one big family, to be honest. And so today we'll be hearing from Mariana Estrada, Communications Officer with the UNFCCC. Then we'll learn from two journalists who have covered COPs before, Ryan Bechu, a journalist from Trinidad and Tobago, and our COP27 fellow in Egypt last year, and Hippolyta Novello, a journalist from Belize and one of our current Caribbean journalism mentors for the Caribbean team. So, from these three speakers, we will hear about the significance of COP28 and why it matters on a global scale. Throughout our session, we really encourage your active participation. So, please feel free to submit your questions using the Q&A feature. And we'll have a dedicated segment towards the end of the session to address as many of your queries as possible. So let's try to make this session as interactive and engaging as we can. Without further ado, let's really start this journey together. Our goal today is to equip you with the necessary information to understand how to cover COP28 with confidence and depth. So sit back, engage, and let's begin. I want to start off with Mariana Estrada. So a little bit about Mariana. She's a specialist in communication and human rights. Currently, she's a communications officer with the UN Climate Change and with the UNFCCC, and she has collaborated for more than 10 years with different UN agencies, working with indigenous peoples, women, and civil society on issues related to food security, climate change, and poverty eradication. So, Mariana, I'm going to go straight over to you. We're really excited to hear from you today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dizan and colleagues. Thank you for joining this webinar. Well, first, let me greet you from Bonn. I'm here in Bonn, in Germany, where the headquarters of UN Climate Change are based. We have now sunny time, but it will not last, so let's enjoy it. I'm going to keep open the window. I think that I need to thank, and also I want to acknowledge the work that Climate Tracker and Dizan and all the colleagues are doing, and also you as journalists. All this relevant work that is to increase the quality and the knowledge, the quality of the information about climate change and about the multilateral process of climate change, and within our regions, within our countries, within the people that is affected by climate change. I think that it's extremely relevant and also extremely urgent. And still facing a lot of challenges on how this information arrives to the people, the population of our countries. I think that it's very important what you are doing, and I think that having these webinar or initiatives to increase the quality of the journalism that covers and shares knowledge about climate change and the climate change process is very relevant. Because we're seeing that many issues are happening, and how climate change is already affecting the region, our country. So first, I want to thank and recognize this important work. The objective of this presentation is that of my presentation will be to get a little more information on how does a COP look like in general, and what are the tools that you can find online, particularly to ensure to get information, to cover, and to generate knowledge and information about it. So if it's okay, I will start. Let me share my screen. Let me know if window. You can see my screen now. This is a presentation. Still in PowerPoint. Yeah, I think that you're
Yeah, all good now.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna show it like this so I can manage. So even if it's not in the big display. I also want to share a question with you, and hopefully maybe at the end you can share with me your answers. I'm very interested in knowing what are the main challenges that you as journalists are facing when you want to publish or share some articles about climate change or to cover climate change events like the COP. What are the challenge? People is interested, the editors are interested or not interested, nobody reads it, or there is a lack of understanding. Please feel free to share in the chat or in the Q&A box or at the end, because I'm very interested in know this from you that are in the region. So I'm going to start with the very basics. It's important to know that the UN climate change, or the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, is a treaty. It's an environmental treaty. What we summarize or call it in short, UN climate change, it's a treaty and has almost 197 parties, meaning almost all countries in the world, and has two main instruments, which is the Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement. These are very relevant tools that are useful and are key to what we're going to see at COP. So let me pass to the other. What is, oh, okay, there you can see better, right? Let's see. What is a COP? So the COP is the decision space for this convention, that is the UN Climate Change Convention, is where all parties, all the member parties, get together to make decisions and to advance those agreements that were set: the Kyoto Protocol, the Paris Agreement, and the convention per se. So they review the advances done. They review what countries are presenting as climate action or climate action plans. And they set new goals or new objectives or new plans on how they're going to implement these agreements in relation to climate change. It's very important to understand the framework, the structure, to understand what is happening at COP. So here, this is the institutional framework of the convention, of the UN Climate Change Convention. The beginning, at the first line, you can see the UNFCCC Secretariat. This is where I work. This is UN Climate Change. And our role is to facilitate the multilateral process. Let's say to facilitate the decision-making and the agreements between all these parties, all these countries that are part of this convention, and to facilitate and advance the analysis of the knowledge and the advancement in relation to the Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement. So here you can see that there are three main governing bodies that are: one for the UNFCCC, that is called the COP; a second one that is the decision-making body, or the governing body for the Kyoto Protocol, that is the CMP. The Kyoto Protocol is focused more on industrialized countries. So not all members not all the members of the Paris Agreement and the UNFCCC are members of the Kyoto Protocol. And the Paris Agreement is, it was signed in 2015, and it's very comprehensive and involves 197 parties. So its governing body is called CMA. So this is very important, because when you look at documents, you will see this COP, CMP, CMA when you see the final decisions. Then we have the SBSTA and the SBA1. These are the subsidiary bodies. One is focused on it's a technical body, generates knowledge and inform the decisions of the governing body. And the other one is more the implementing arm, and analyze more policies and ways to implement the decisions and the knowledge that is has been reported or decided here by the governing bodies. I'm going to stop there because this is what is more relevant for the COP. So let's see how a normal COP looks like. This will be the general agenda of a COP. First, we have the precisional meetings. That is when countries get together and by groups and blocks and prepare for what they are gonna present, share, or decide their positions according to certain topics. So these precisional meetings will start on the 24th of November this year. And there will be gatherings, there private gatherings, closed gatherings, where the countries, mainly the countries, will be setting their positions and the way they're gonna manage different topics. Then we have the opening, and you see here the 3 governing bodies that I mentioned, plus the SVs. It's the opening of the 4 conferences. So all of these, the parties that belong to all these governing bodies will be there. And then we start the first week with negotiations and the Leaders Summit. The Leaders Summit means the gathering of head of the states. So it's the highest level of decision making. And here at the opening and the first week, we will have setting the agenda issues, the agenda items. So this is very important because this will be what it's going to be discussed during this COP. There are some COPs where in the agenda items there are disagreements already. So there are topics that are not discussed at all at the COP, or there are topics that already face some challenge in the opening. So it's very important when you are covering COP that you can follow the opening and the adoption of the agenda, because you will understand what's really discussing and you will get an idea of the position or the way countries or parties are willing to manage or present special agenda items. Then the first week you will have the subsidiaries bodies, and it will end at the end of the first week. Remember that the subsidiary bodies make recommendations to the governing bodies. So many political advocacy could be done here, and it's where observers have a chance to ensure to share some points in the resolutions or in the documents or in the draft text, and then this will go to the governing bodies, which will make the final decisions. In the second week, we still have negotiations, but here we also have engagement at ministerial level, which is already more technical, more practical, less political. Well, political will continue, but we have also this technical engagement. And during the 2 weeks, we have a big round of high-level events, mandated events, side events, exhibit. You know that observers have a space there and can share their experiences, their project, their solutions, make advocacy. And then we have the closing. With the closing, it should come most of the decisions, the final documents of the decisions. So this is general overview of how a COP looks like. So what we are expecting from this COP28 that will take place in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. First, the main issue will be the conclusion of the global stock take of the Paris Agreement. That is the evaluation of what have the climate action that has been implemented since the Paris Agreement until today. This is the first global stock take in the history. So countries will already have information and outcomes of this analysis and the results says that we are not in the track to achieve the Paris Agreement goals. But the important thing is what countries will decide on how to react to those to this information, to those outcomes of the analysis of the climate action. Then we have the operationalization of the loss and damage fund, the just and clean energy transition, climate finances that will be starting a big conversation that will end up in 2024, and the global goal on adaptation. These are very relevant topics that will be discussed during this, or we expect to be discussed during this COP28. But there are also other topics that are, let's say, considered less relevant, but there are discussions around food and agriculture, about health, about youth, about other, let me show here, about other different topics that are relevant, of course, and I think that particularly could be relevant for our countries, but sometimes do not deserve the same attention. So here you can see that the agenda of COP28 is divided or focused on thematic days, and we will have December 3 will be a health and relief, recovery and peace day. So there will be many activities or events or discussions focused on these topics during these different thematic days. So how can you find information or get some tools to enhance your coverage or your following, how you follow the COP28? Now I'm going to navigate through this webpage, but we have a webpage with that has the schedule, the sessions and documents, news, and the webcast links, so you can follow some of the discussions. Then we have also an app that if you can scan that code, you can get the app. Also, it's in the webpage, so I will show it right now. And an email for press. My computer is getting crazy. Wait a second. Well, there was an email about press and media. I will move it later. That you can send questions or request of interviews. You can request an interview. Of course, it's a little complicated to get an interview online, but you can request an interview via this email with your questions already and what you need to know or who would you like to interview. Mainly, this is for UN Climate Change Secretariat. This means the executive secretary or any technical expert that could give information on certain specific topics. Let me go here. So this is our webpage, UNFCCC.int. And if you go here to more about COP, well, my computer is going crazy, sorry. I don't know what's going on, but okay. Let me see. Okay, so you have the UNFCCC and the COP28. What's going on here? Oof. Sorry, colleagues, I don't know what's going on with my computer. Okay. Well, I will try to show you here. Or I don't know if someone can design, maybe you can go to the web page and I can navigate showing your screen.
Yeah.
This is the other, sorry, because look.
No problem. Yeah, I'm heading there now.
Okay. Let me just stop sharing my screen.
I'll share my screen.
Great. Let me share you the, I don't know what's happening with my computer. Oh.
Is this okay?
Perfect. Excellent. Yes, there. So this is the web page of the Secretariat, the UNFCCC Secretariat, and you can see COP28 there. So if you get a little down this end, you can see the 4 buttons that are there. These are the key buttons for you. Participation and registration, it talks about how to register or how to participate. So this is focused more for the people that's going to be there on site. But let's go to the sessions and documents web page. Here is where you can find all the documents related to the conference parties. And as you can see, there are a lot of buttons. First, we're going to start at the beginning where you can see, if you can go, exactly, you can see an overview schedule for COP. This is the general agenda. You can open it this end and then we get back just for colleagues to see how it looks like. You go to open. Yes. Oh, okay. So this is a very general overview, and you can see that here are the different governing bodies that I showed you: COP28, CMP, and the other one. Go, please listen. Yes, continue. So you can see, no, what is expected. Coordination meeting. So you can print that and have it in your. This is the general agenda. Listen, thank you. Can we go back? Yes, you can see there. Thank you. So if you go back to the COP28 page, exactly, then you have the joint note. I don't think we need to open that, but this is a document from the subsidiary bodies that set the tone. Let's say it tells us what is going to happen, what they expect should happen at the COP. So it's a very good document to have an idea before you go to COP or the COP starts of what is expected of that. Then we have the provisional agendas. The provisional agendas is, again, what is going to be discussed during the opening and what should be discussed, or the proposal of what should be discussed during COP28. And here, maybe you can go to the button of COP28. Yes, okay. So here, no, sorry. Well, here you can find the general document, but could you go back, Dicen, please? And there below you have, below, yeah, session pages. Session pages is very important for you because there is what you will find the new documents that are coming out from the sessions. So if you want to go there to COP28 session page, Disan, thank you. Okay, so you can go down, scroll down, and you can see if you click item 1 of the agenda will be opening of the session. If you click there, now it's empty, but once the conference starts, there will be starting some documents here that are going to be part of the discussions. You can see the first item 3 is reports of the subsidiary bodies. We discussed subsidiary bodies are the technical and the implementation bodies. So you can find their information. We can go back, please, listen. This is all the agenda items, and you can navigate there and find the documents. What I want to also show you, yes, we can go back. So this is mainly this document section. Then if you go up, there is a schedules and public webcast. Let's see if it's ready, or if not, I share with you the. If you go to, that is a schedules and public webcast button.
Yeah.
Okay, it's still not up to date. Let me tell you that this is going, the web page is still on process to be built during during these days before the COP. But let me show you an example. Let's go to news and media, and then I show you the example. Let me see if it's already. Okay, so here is also very important. Here you will find, particularly, you have the social media, that you will find all the social media related to COP28, but also it's very important, the button that says COP28 Observers Daily Updates. If you want to click the Observers Daily Update, these are summaries made by observers organizations of every day of the negotiations. So you will have a summary every day about how the negotiations are going here. And they're very good, very interesting reports that maybe help you to find information. So I'm sorry that the schedules cannot be seen, but if you look on internet, sorry, Disan, if you look for SB58 at another page, as a new search, can you put SB58 Bonn conference? Okay, there you can do it. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with my computer. Okay, perfect. You can click the first one. This is how, this was the previous conference this year in Bonn, but I want to show you where it says schedules. And you can go to full calendar not, public webcast schedule. This is how the schedule page of the COP will look in a couple of days. So you will find public webcast schedule and press conference. And there you can see live and connect to the different events. It takes time, as you can see. And you can also connect to the side events and some of the meetings that are open to the public, like the plenary sessions. Just let's us wait until it's open, and I can. Perfect. So that is how you will see the page of the events. And if you go to 4 June, if you go to the 4 June, this is how it's going to look for COP.
Okay.
If you go to 4 June, you will find the events with the link for the webcasting, and the press conference. You can also look there when you look at type of events. So this is a very useful page for you because you can follow it. So you have these are limited access, but then this is an example of how it will look like. So saying that, I also want to tell you there are like several reports, important reports that you can find in the webpage to get more information. But what it has been really, really useful is the collaboration among journalists, because as you can see, it's a big agenda. There are a lot of items. And sometimes I think that it's very difficult to cover. Thank you very much, Lisan. I think that we can stop with the webpage. But I think that the collaboration between journalists is key to ensure that you can cover all the different activities of COP and get the knowledge of the what is going to be decided or how the decisions are going. And also, it's important to consider that there is it's not everything just at COP. During the whole year, the process are advancing, and what is happening at national level or a regional level is very relevant. So after this COP, it's very important that you continue following what's going on with these decisions at a regional level or at a country level. That's very important to ensure to get the follow-up and follow it during the years. Just to say that there is also the application, the UN climate change application that you can have in your cell phone. It's very similar to the web page, but easier because it takes away all the other information that is not part of the conference. So if you can download it and have it, it will maybe be very helpful for you to follow what is going on at COP. And saying that, I think that I'm gonna close with this. Please let me know if you can reply my question that which the one that I started. What are the challenges that media in your region, in your countries is facing to generate knowledge about climate change, about the UN climate change process, and what are these, what can be done, or what are the ideas that you find as a solution? Thank you very much. I hope it has been useful. I will share the different links. And I need to tell you one final thing, that there is a training series of, I think, 16 modules, online modules that cover every different topic. So I will share the link here. Every different topic that is going to be discussed at COP. There is a very short module online that you can take and get this information. So also that could be very helpful for you and the work that you're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mariana. That was very, very informative, and I think very valuable to all of our community, our journalists in this community. Very, very helpful. Thank you so much. And we'll definitely be sharing this publicly afterwards. So thank you for sharing that information. And next up, we have two journalists that you're going to hear from. First, we have Ryan Beatrieu. Ryan is a journalist, has been a journalist with CNC3 Television for the last 13 years. His work in climate change started with remote coverage of COP26, which took place in Glasgow in 2021. From there, he went on to become a climate tracker fellow in 2022, focusing his energies on energy transition and climate justice. He then traveled to Egypt to cover the event and amplify the issues and decisions that emerged out of that conference for the Caribbean audience. As climate change is glaringly before our eyes, Ryan really believes that not enough people understand why temperatures are hotter and why rainfall is more violent. So he sees this as his job to educate and make people more aware of what is happening. So Ryan, I'm really excited to hear from you how it is that you're, going through this process of making people understand the technicalities that exist within COP. So share with our audience how to bring that in the most effective way possible.
Thanks so much, Dizana, and thanks so much to Mariana. That was a really captivating presentation. In fact, I have a list of things that I'd like to go through. And I think I didn't have UNFCCC's website on it, but that is such an incredible tool that I think that everyone on this call, please review what Mariana said if you need to. That UNFCCC website is a great tool that you need to add to your arsenal, as well as what I'm about to tell you. So I know that we have the emojis. So if you're a first-time COP attendee, you could just raise your hand, or just give me a signal. If this is probably a second or third time, you could also kind of just raise your hand so I could just get a gauge. Because I want to talk, first of all, as Dizan was saying, I covered Glasgow from home. And then I built on that, and I was able to travel to Sharm el-Sheikh last year to cover it in person. And there's a little bit of both that everybody could take away from, whether you're in person or remote. So the first thing I want to start with is, if you're covering it remotely, I want to make sure you understand, and I want to make sure that you really understand that it is very possible to do the fronts from home, and it's happening in the other part of the world, means that, you know, your coverage is going to be a little bit depleted. It's going to be a little bit substandard. It's not going to be as great as somebody who is in Dubai. That's not true. All right. And I think that's the biggest lesson I learned in Glasgow, because when I was at home here in Trinidad and Tobago, here in the Caribbean, and I was covering it from Glasgow, I did a 6-part series that ultimately paved the way for me applying to Climate Tracker. I used that 6-part series that I did. I applied to Climate Tracker last year, which would have been 2022. Dizan and her team would have seen what I would have done from home, and they decided, you know what, let's give this guy a chance to actually go in person. So I just want you to use this opportunity. If you have the opportunity to cover it remotely, that's a big opportunity. All right, but how do you maximize it remotely? First and most importantly, I'm going to switch the first thing. I'm actually going to put now at the top, after Mariana's presentation, I'm actually going to switch the top of my list, and I'm going to put UNFCCC's website. Keep in touch with that website. I didn't realize that website is such a directory and an encyclopedia of climate change information of what's happening at COP until I saw her presentation. Keep in touch with that website. Go onto the website, learn the website in and out, where you'll get all your information of what's happening today, tomorrow, next week, what is happening with the topics that you want to discuss. Keep reading all of these newspapers. Keep reading, keep watching videos. COP is going to be everywhere. Every international network, every international newspaper, they all send their people across there. Sometimes they send more than one people. Guardian UK had an entire room of people last year. All right, the New York Times had 3 or 4 correspondents. I saw 2 political correspondents. So they send a lot of people there. They're writing on climate change every day. Sometimes they're writing on climate change almost every hour as things change. Keep reading. Follow these things on Twitter. Climate Tracker does an excellent job of keeping things rolling on Twitter. As things happen at COP, their fellows are always posting, they're always tweeting. So keep in touch with the social media platforms such as Climate Tracker and others, so that you could know what is happening. Find a friend who is at COP. Everybody, there are about 50,000 people or more that attend these conferences. So somebody knows somebody. You must have a friend or a friend of a friend who's attending Dubai. Find them, get in touch with them, make friends with them. Climate Tracker has this excellent structure by which they used in 2022, where there were in-person fellows, but also remote fellows, and we would partner with each other. So Tyrell Gittins, I think, was my partner, really nice guy from Trinidad and Tobago. He might actually be on this call. And we would partner, we would be in touch every day. And Tyrell would be like, hey, what is happening? What are you working on? And I would respond to him. Sometimes I'd send him very quirky pictures from me in Sharm el-Sheikh. So make friends and keep in touch with them on what is happening on the ground. This is a big one. Don't try to cover everything at COP. COP is a huge conference. It's impossible to cover everything at COP. And if you try to do that, you're only going to end up frustrating yourself. You're only going to end up here, there, everywhere, and end up at the end to the destination of nowhere. Don't do that. So what I would suggest is that you focus on a few things. Focus on your region. So my region is the Caribbean region. I'm very passionate about amplifying what is happening with climate change in the Caribbean. So when I go to COPs, my mission has always been the same. It's never changed really. It's to amplify what is happening in the Caribbean, to amplify Caribbean voices that are at these conferences, because it's a big conference. There are a lot of big people. Sometimes the President of the United States attends. You have a lot of world leaders. And because of all of these huge world leaders are attending, our small voices in the Caribbean, our prime ministers, our leaders, our authorities in climate change, their voices tend to get lost. So if you're from the Pacific, if you're from a small island developing state, if you're from Latin America, all right, focus on the issues that are affecting, and I think Mariana touched on this a little bit, but I'll go a little bit deeper. Focus on the issues that are affecting your country or your Caribbean region. That's a big deal. But I also want to say it's important, and this is why I was so happy with my COP26 coverage remotely. It's important that you don't ignore what is happening globally, all right? There are a lot of things that are happening globally that can affect our small, probably that you think won't happen. So for instance, one of the things that I thought had a huge impact that a lot of people ignored was the fact that India was pushing back so hard last year against having limits on coal. All right, India was pushing back. They had marathon negotiation sessions. They really grinded everybody in. And I thought that had huge implications for small island and developing states. But India has nothing to do with the Caribbean. But that's a huge talking point at COP. These guys were literally negotiating down to the wire. They were grinding everybody into the ground. So I thought that was really interesting. So please don't neglect to cover global issues. Try to connect it with what is happening in your region, but do not ignore the global issues. Those are really, really important. It could impact your region. Again, very important. Climate change is still, in some parts of the world, still very new. And Dizan was right in reading my bio the way that she did. Here in the Caribbean, climate change is still getting to become a household word. I don't think it's there as yet, to be honest. I just don't think it's there as yet. I don't think people understand why things are changing. This year, we've had heat waves. In my lifetime, we've never used the word heat wave in Trinidad and Tobago until this year. So it's still very new. So why I say all of this is please keep reminding your audience, whether you are writing for a newspaper, whether you are doing it for television, whether you are doing it for online, keep at the front of your mind, reminding your audience why this is important, why I'm telling you this story. All right, that's really important. If you don't do that, you risk alienating your audience. People are going to wonder, why is this guy telling me about something that I don't care about? Because at the end of the day, we have to be realistic as climate journalists and climate reporters. We have to be realistic. This is not a topic that everybody is interested in. This is not entertainment with, I don't know, Nicki Minaj or Jay-Z that everybody gravitates to. It's not that. It's a very boring topic, but it's a very important topic. So we have to keep reminding our audience why it's important, that why we are telling you this, how this is affecting your life, how this will affect your life. Find creative ways. Break down your information, please. A lot of climate change stuff, a lot of things that happen at COP, it's very technical. People don't understand it. We ourselves sometimes need somebody to explain it to us. So we need to explain it to our audience. Break down your terms. All right, get connected with local stakeholders because you'll be covering it from your country. All right, you have the opportunity right here at home to get connected with your Ministry of Climate Change, with your line ministers, with your prime ministers, with whoever is in charge with local climate authorities. Get in touch with them. Let them know, hey, I'll be covering COP28 from here at home. A lot will be happening in Dubai, but I want to try to get a comment from you. Should this topic come up? Should climate finance come up? I want to get a comment from you. Put them on high alert. Feed them out. See if they have anything that they'd like to say pre-COP. See if there's anything that they would like to contribute to. So get in touch with them. Do not wait until the conference starts on Wednesday. That's too late. Get in touch with your stakeholder from now. Make a list if you need to. Today is the 22nd, so you still have a lot of time. You could get in touch with them, make a list, get in touch with them. So that's really from a remote perspective. And like I said, there's a lot in this for both remote and in person, but I want to kind of go into the in-person aspect now. But people who are covering it remotely, there's still a lot for you in this, including this one. Have a plan. Listen, your plan never works out at COP. All right, I'm sorry to break it to you. Your plan, whatever your plan is, it's not going to work out. It's just not going to work out. All right, that's just a reality. But have a plan. Dizan, I think you might have my plan for COP27. If you could just pull that up.
Yep, let me just share my screen now.
Sure, thanks.
By the way, Ryan, thank you for preaching. Thank you for preaching. I'm here for it. Can you see it?
Yes, I thank you so much.
Great.
Okay,
I think Ryan, are you there? Yeah,
I'm
you're back.
here now.
You're back.
My internet might have dropped out. I'm sorry. Okay, so everybody's hearing me, I think. So even before I jumped on the plane, I had created this content schedule. And out of this content schedule, I don't know, I'm probably got in 15% of this, to be honest. Yeah, if I got in 15% of this, I got in a lot. Because by the time I got to Sharm el-Sheikh, most of this, you know, the big thing that everybody was talking about, there was a huge fight in quotes, it wasn't a literal fight, but there was a huge fight for loss and damage funding, and small island and developing states, almost like David and Goliath, decided, you know what, we're going to fight for this, and if we're not getting it, then fine. We're just, what are we doing here? We pack our stuff and we leave. And there was a huge debacle about that, and it really became about loss and damage funding. So meaning a lot of the things that I would have planned to discuss or at least write about in my content plan didn't really pan out, but that's fine because you have to go with the waves, all right? You can't control the waves. You have to ride the waves at COP. But my point is that if things had not worked out, and some days it didn't, some days I would be struggling for a story, and what would I do? I would go back to my content plan and I would say, okay, let me see if I can pursue this story, if I can pursue that story, if I can pursue that story. All right, let me just move along because I don't want to be too long as well. So my point is, find a calendar. It doesn't have to be as pretty as this one, but make a schedule, make a content plan so that you have a plan to fall back on. All right. Speaking about content plan, if you're headed to COP, prepare for the smaller stories, all right? This is something I had to learn the hard way. There are so many stories at COP, at these conferences, so many of them. Of course, there are the hard-hitting ones, there are the negotiations, there are the big interviews that you want to get, all fine. But there are such smaller stories that people often overlook. And I think that it makes very interesting stories. So it doesn't necessarily have to end up in the newspaper. It doesn't necessarily have to end up on TV. It can end up on social media. So I saw, like last year at COP27, there was this really interesting visual that I saw. I was walking through one of the booths and I saw two bishops, two priests, Roman Catholic priests. So I go up to them and I'm like, are you guys lost? What are you doing here? You know, I'm not expecting to see two Roman Catholic priests at COP27. And they said, no, actually, the Vatican has, you know, the Vatican sends us and we monitor and we engage in negotiations and we talk and we engage as well. I was absolutely shocked by it. So there are so many differing stories. Another one was that Pakistan had record flooding last year, incredible flooding, terrible flooding last year. And it's just so strange that Pakistan had a wonderful booth, and when I was passing Pakistan and I was talking to one of the guys there, We ourselves in Trinidad and Tobago, as I was in the beautiful sunshine of Sharm el-Sheikh, we ourselves had incredible rainfall here in Trinidad and Tobago, and also we had a lot of flooding. I was able to connect what was happening in Pakistan in a story to what was happening in my own country and ask them about their mitigation measures, ask them about what they're doing in their country that we could possibly adapt in our country. My point is that there are a lot of these smaller stories happening at COP that you should keep your eyes and ears out for. There was also an interesting one where I saw Ukraine. Now, last year, Russia invaded Ukraine. So, I just thought it was very interesting that I didn't expect to see a Ukrainian booth, but I did, and they were very welcoming, and they spoke to us. They gave me a great story as well. So, keep your eyes and ears out. Not only keep your eyes and ears, make friends there. Don't be shy at COP. That's the one rule that you need to take away. Go there, make friends. Some people are very busy. It's not that they're ignoring you. It's not that they don't like you. They're just very busy. They're very focused on what they have to do, but make as many friends as possible. Your friends will help you and your friends will save you. Okay, so make as many friends. Go talk to people. If you get snubbed, it's not because they don't like you, but people are very focused on what they have to get done at COP because they have very strict timelines, deadlines. It's all different types of time zones that they're dealing with. So everybody's dealing with something different, but make as many friends as possible and keep in touch with them. All right. Prepare for long hours at COP. There is no COP. You're getting very early. Sometimes you'll be leaving very late. Most times you'll be leaving very late. Eat as often as you need to. Stay hydrated, but prepare for long hours at COP. I'm wrapping up now because I know that I don't want to take too long. Also, very important, in addition to preparing for long hours, prepare to be frustrated. It's a very frustrating experience. And it's not frustrating because of the logistics. Sometimes it's just frustrating because you're struggling to get a story. I remember when I touched down in Sharm el-Sheikh, for the first 3 days, I felt like just getting back on a plane and getting back home because I felt like I was accomplishing nothing. I was like, what is the point of being here? I'm struggling for a story. I'm not really churning out the type of content that I had planned for. I have a whole content plan and I can't even write a story. It happens. It happens to everybody. I spoke to Chris Wright, who is the founder of Climate Tracker, and Chris was like, calm down, it's fine. It happens to everybody. For the first 3 days, you're lost. You're not really sure what's happening. You're trying to learn. You're getting lost everywhere you go. You can't even find yourself back to the media center. It's all fine. All right, prepare to be frustrated. It's fine. It'll all calm down in a few days. Just remain as calm as possible. I added this to my list when I saw Mariana's presentation. UNF, that Spectre document on the UNFCCC's website. Please get familiar with it. Go onto the UNFCCC website and get familiar with it. That Spectre document is a really good document to add to the list of tools that you need to have for COP. Plan ahead every day, plan ahead for the next day. When you're wrapping up your day, plan ahead on what you are going to do for the next day. At least have a plan to start that day with. So that's a little bit of what I wanted to tell everyone who is going remotely as well as in person. But the most important thing to do at COP, whether you're doing it remotely or in person, all right? And this might sound cliche, it might sound stupid, but the most important thing is to have fun.
We may have lost Ryan just as he was telling us to have fun. But
Yeah.
Ryan,
sorry, Dizan. Yeah.
you're back. Yeah, we lost you just as you were telling us to have fun. It might be a little bit glitchy on Ryan's side. All right, Ryan, unfortunately, we really can't hear you anymore. It's a little bit glitchy, but thank you so much for sharing your experience. I think it really helps especially those who are covering for the first time, and to get prepared for, honestly, what you can't prepare yourself for. So I'm going to go straight across to Hippolito, and thank you for staying with us, everyone. Now we're going to Hippolito Novello. And Hippolito is an experienced and award-winning journalist with over 10 years experience in the field, specializing in analyzing complex social and political issues. He has worked with reputable organizations like the New York Times, Dorothy St. Pictures, Discovery Plus, Campside Media. Hippolito has a special interest in climate reporting as he sees it as an opportunity to make a positive impact. He has covered COP26 in Glasgow, and he's really interested in bringing important issues to viewers across the region in a way that the Caribbean audience can understand. So, Hippolito, over to you.
Thank you so much, Izan. And Mariana, wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for being here with us. And I think one of the things that we in the region don't realize is how powerful the website is, the UNFCCC website, and the tools it has there for us to use, especially to cover COP28 this year. So thank you so much. And Ryan did an excellent job this in. He covered every single thing. I agree with everything he said. I echoed everything that he shared with us. And I don't even think my presentation would be needed now. Ryan did an excellent job. Thank you so much, Ryan, for that. So I'll be brief. One of the things that I tell reporters or persons or participants attending COP this year is that to make sure that you do your research and preparation. You need to understand the background and the context in which you're going to report on, and familiarize yourself with all the key players and their positions. Make sure that you know the key agreements, the Kyoto Protocol, the policies and the targets. Where are we in terms of loss and damage? Will we make any headway this year, especially when it comes to the Caribbean region, or what region played, the important role it played when it comes to loss and damage, climate financings, and of course the global stocktake. And make sure that one of the things, even though it's a global event, one of the things that I would encourage reporters and participants to focus on is to bring that in regionally. And of course, if there's any international link that you want to do with any country, as Ryan had mentioned, then that's super great. When I was at COP26 in Glasgow, when I was touring the facilities there, I saw a group of indigenous people, and they were chanting and they were saying their remarks, and that caught my attention. And so I went up to one of them and I did a story featured on them. And that story brought a lot of attention to Belize in Belize, because we have two indigenous groups fighting for climate mitigation and adaptation. So I was able to connect the indigenous people experience from Brazil to the ones we have here in Belize. And that for context, that was extremely important for them, because what they did now is that they got in contact with the indigenous group to see how they could work along together. What are you doing in your country? What I can do in my country in terms of climate change, in terms of mitigate and adapt to climate change. One of the other things I would encourage reporters is to get interviews, a diverse amount of interviews, government NGOs, industry stakeholders, climate activists, and make sure that you keep your eyes and ears open where at the facilities, because you see something, it might be interesting for you and other stakeholders in your country. And people talk a lot at the COP and very noisy, but once you pick up one or two things, because we can't be everywhere, huge facility, we can't be everywhere at the same time at COP28. So you pick up a little thing, one or two there, and make sure that you hear that, oh, what's happening over this corner, if you have any VIP person over that corner, and so you could rush and try to get that. Also, there's a lot of data when it comes to climate change, and as Ryan mentioned, it's not a sexy topic then. It's quite very boring, but we as reporters, then we have the ability and that skill to try to explain it better to our viewers and listeners and readers, so they could understand it, that they could comprehend the importance of this topic, and they could comprehend why we are at COP28 and why climate change affects every single thing in life. And we can do so by using data and visuals. It's important to incorporate statistics and data for telling stronger stories in your articles or your video packages. And one of the things also that I would want reporters to do is to humanize the story. When you talk about agreements and the Kyoto protocols on loss and damage, climate financings, global stock take, a lot of the regular man on the street, man or woman on the street, would not gravitate, would not want to see your story or read your story because they can't relate to it. They understand that climate change is happening. They understand that something is happening different with the weather. That's all they know. That a few years ago it didn't flood so much. Now it's flooding so much. It wasn't that hot a few years ago. Now we are experiencing heat wave. They don't understand climate change, right? So one of the things to break through that barrier is to humanize the story. Interview someone who can explain their experiences. And by listening to that, then the viewers or the readers or the listeners could gravitate to that. And they could also share their experience and understand that what's happening is also happening and affecting them. So that's a key thing in my advice to reporters. Of course, we need to fact check and report responsibly. Because one of the things too as well, we have people doing interviews and providing comments, and some of it will be ranting and hot air and a lot of emotional stuff. And that's good for TV. It's good to attract listeners, but we must be careful when it comes to making sure that we fact check everything that they say and we report responsible. And also, what Ryan had mentioned, make friends. Networking is really good there. You get to meet a lot of people. And like he mentioned as well, everybody can help you. And everybody is busy. Do not be shy. If you need an interview from someone, go ahead and ask them, walk up to them, use the email that Mariana had shared with us, and get your interviews. And we at CT will be there. If you need any sort of help, we'll be there to help you. And Brian had mentioned too as well, have fun. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be a lot of walking. And if you're alone and you have your equipment with your tripod or camera, it's going to be tiring. It's going to be frustrating. The media center almost every day from dawn to sunset, it gets packed up. So if you're going to be working at the media center, you will want to be there extra early to win your spot, because some persons, they stay there and they do not move until they go home. But I think there will be a lot of other pockets of areas where you can sit and do your work there. It can be overwhelming for some. The amount of people there, the content that's going to be there, it can be overwhelming. But just take, day by day and make sure you have a plan. And like Brian had mentioned again, your plan may not be 100% successful, but we are reporters and we know how to change, or we know how to assimilate in these kind of events like this. And if there's a story we want, we will get that story for our viewers. And I think that would be all, Design. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hippolito, and thank you. Ryan is not here anymore, but thank you to Ryan as well and Mariana. I think this information is so crucial to really getting the information out there as best as possible. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We are coming to a close. We're just a little bit over time, but I think we probably have time for 1 or 2 questions. If you have any, please feel to drop them in the chat. I'm going to ask one question, and that's to Mariana. Mariana, how would you say journalists can navigate the vast amount of information and varying viewpoints at COP28 to ensure accurate and comprehensive reporting? What would be your advice in that area?
Thank you for the question, and congratulations to Ryan and Hipólito. Very, very interesting presentation, and really gives an overview of how it's being the journalist covering these events. I think that one of the tips that I heard, and I agree a lot with colleagues, with Hipólito and Ryan, is to not try to cover everything and focus on specific topics while keeping the global in your mind. And I think for this, it's very useful to follow these daily updates that the observers, organizations, or NGOs are preparing. Of course, you need to understand what are their focus or their priorities, but this is a very good starting point to get to know what's going to happen today, or what was discussed yesterday, and what can I expect today. I think that reading one or two of it, or just one, will help you to start and follow them. And that gives you the line of what you want to cover. Well, if it was decided, I mean, you heard something interesting about, I don't know, food systems or about youth, maybe you can follow that line, looking for specific documents to that issue, some of these
Thank you.
elements.
Yes, Marianne, I agree. Checking in with those reports are really important, especially the eco, I would say, is really, really good. So definitely agree with that point. So we will be sharing those resources with all those who have registered. And I want to take this opportunity to as well to invite all of you to our daily briefings. So Climate Tracker, work together with Youngo, will be doing a daily briefing at the Children and Youth Pavilion at around 5 o'clock every day. So 5 in the evening every day. So please feel free to come through and hear from our journalists and the Youngo team as well. Hippolito, I see you've raised your hand.
Yeah, Mariana, I have two questions, just two brief questions for the agenda that you had shared at the beginning of your presentation. That would be final, or is it that things would be amended as the day goes by? And then the other question then would be, in terms of requests for interviews through the email, what would be the turnaround time? And is it almost every time that the request is granted? You're muted, sorry.
Sorry. Thank you for the question. The agenda is the starting point. Let's say it says the basis, but it will change accordingly what is going to be discussed in the opening, and some points will be removed or will be enhanced or changed. In fact, while I was preparing for the conference, I just saw that the Brazil government sent a letter requesting a new item in the agenda. And there is the letter, I mean, you can find this kind of thing. So Brazil is asking for a new point to be included in that agenda. So that can change. And it's going to change in the next days and in the opening. So yes, it's going to change at all. The second question was about the email to request interviews. I'm going to be very honest and transparent. It's one person managing, one colleague that is managing this email. So you can imagine how he's going crazy through this email, but he's really interested in trying to facilitate the interviews as much as he can. So if you can prepare or identify that you want to talk about loss and damage or about mitigation, you can start sending an email and request it to maybe like in the first days of COP, if you can have an interview with an expert. In this email, we can only get staff from UNFCCC, that could be the executive secretary, that is our highest authority, or technical experts that could explain you what's going on with gender discussions, what's going on with other discussions. But the sooner you do it, as you said, the sooner you send the email, probably you get the reply during the period that you requested. And if not, I will say try to reach other people that will be there or that you see that is there that could help you with that. But try to keep two fronts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much indeed. So before we end today's session, I want to thank our incredible panelists for really sharing such incredible information, and each of you for joining us to explore what it takes to cover COP28. I think the insights today were, they really reminded us that COP28 is not just a conference, it's really a collective commitment to address climate change. And as journalists, as advocates, our role in amplifying stories and sharing and shaping narratives is very crucial, right? So I hope that you take what you learned today and remember that our responsibility as storytellers continues beyond this webinar. Let's carry the conversation forward, and I hope that you have a great rest of the week, and I look forward to all the stories that you'll be preparing for COP and publishing during COP. So enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you a lot, Design. Thank you all the colleagues of Climate Tracker.
Thank you, bye-bye. Enjoy your day.
Ciao, ciao.
And we'll see you at COP28, Michaela.
Excellent. Yes. let's see. Let's meet there. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.